Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag-and-drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. So, other things to talk about that don't involve me.
Yes.
What is the big news of the week? We have a couple of big stories. One, both of them, I think, potentially equally sad.
Well, one is definitely sad. I don't know what the other one is.
Yeah, it's also sad.
Let's
do the real one first.
So the sad news of the week is that Richard Dysart passed away. Richard Dysart, who we had just early last year, we had a wonderful interview with him after we did our Richard Dysart series. had a great run of movies that he was in, and he's just a great guy. We had a wonderful interview with him, very down to earth, very fun and funny, and he ended up passing away last night, and so he leaves behind his lovely wife, Catherine, and we certainly send her our thoughts.
It is. That was the one where he sat on the floor for us for like
That's
4
right.
hours.
That's right. Yeah, it's a very lengthy interview.
He is such a great, kind spirit, and I am deeply saddened by this news, but I hope that he is at peace. He was, I think, in these last couple of years, he was needing some peace.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. The other sad news.
Okay.
Is that the entire Star Wars set has been launched for pre-order on digital, and it's the crappy versions.
You weren't kidding about changing from sad to really not very sad.
Let's not get all judgy.
Okay, so here's the thing. I guess I just don't care anymore, and I'll tell you why. Because Disney owns it, and we all know that all of this is just marketing ploys. Yeah. And Disney has already been, the rumor is floating out there that all of the original cuts of the first 3 Star Wars films, i.e. 4, 5, and 6, are all going to be released. So, I just tell everybody, get your panties out of a bunch and just be patient.
Is that what you're telling me about my panties?
That's what I'm telling you. Get your panties out of a bunch.
Here's the thing. I'm okay with that, and I feel like my panties are in fact out of a bunch. But they also did stupid album art. Their cover art is stupid too. Like everything is like another layer of stupid.
That's funny. I didn't look at the art actually, so I can't comment on it. But.
Well, it's like original poster art, but they separated. They've undone the title of the subtitle of each. Now it's just Star Wars, and then the lame Rainbow Bar, the Rainbow Bar subtitling theme. Scheme. It's not good. So anyway, I'm with you. I'm trying not to care. I'm doing whatever therapy I need to not care. The only unspoiled version, the unsullied version that I have is not HD. It's I do have a bootleg of a re-edit of a thing that's supposedly better, but it's like when I watch it on my big TV, it looks terrible. So I was hoping for. Steve is the one who got me all excited about this. I blame Steve Sarmento because he got me all excited that the rumor was out and this was going to be the next version that was released. It is not the next version released. I'm holding my money and my breath.
Here's the thing. I mean, the special editions, complain all you want. This is to all you special editions haters. It's, 90%, if not more, of the films that we love are there. And so it's like, okay, there are things that were changed that are problematic. But for the most part, it is the film that we all love, and it still is worth watching. And you shouldn't avoid it just because you think it's the special edition. If you really need to be patient, then just wait until Disney inevitably does release the originals.
For those of you who feel called out by that, Andy is available at Soda Creek Film on Twitter.
That's right.
Directly.
Bring it on.
For all you special edition haters, 90%. I think if I were on that side of the argument, I would be poking at 90%. Because I think that number's lower, and I look forward to somebody in our listening audience challenging that percentage.
I would find it hard to be less than 90%.
I'm not going to do it myself because, like you, I'm trying to not care. Do you hear that?
There you go.
I am trying to not care.
There you go.
Do you have any other old business?
I don't think so.
I think we should tell the people where we're from.
Where are we from?
Is the next reel, everybody. I'm Pete Wright, and that there is Andy Nelson.
Yo.
And we spoil movies. Tonight on the show, the 4th in our 2015 Film Noir series with the fantastic 1947 Jacques Tourneur noir, Out of the Past. But before we get into that, you should learn more about us at thenextreel.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at thenextreel. And if you know what it's like to betray, to play on the trust of strangers and leave them cold and wet and alone, all to get yours in the end, then you're just the kind of scoundrel who might like to head over to Instagram.com/thenextreel and play The Next Reel's Instagram, #PonyPrize, #GuessTheMovieChallenge. Andy, how did we do against the Goon Squad this week?
This was I think it was a pretty good week. I mean, I say that because the movie, the images, I think, were great images. As far as the challenge, it did get, I think, good old Steven Smart got 2 images in before G. Larson was able to figure it out. Yes, it was the image of, I don't know what it is, a little like a dial on a safe or something. That was the giveaway, and G. Larson was able to figure out that it was actually tied in with last week's show, Fritz Lang's Manhunt.
Wow. What is that? What is that dial? I haven't seen Manhunt.
I haven't either. It looks like I don't know. It looks like a dial on a safe, but not really. Like maybe a camera dial or a rifle scope.
But it's funny because it's got 8, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. We need to see them clearly.
Wow, well played.
Indeed. So, a lot of great images, though. A lot of great images.
What's funny is he hasn't seen it either.
Right, somehow he's just able to.
Lucky guess. I haven't seen this one either. And now he has a target on his back.
It is called Manhunt,
yeah.
Larson. You don't know what you've set yourself up for.
Well, on that note, Andrew, I think it's time. Let's do trailers. Okay. Are you going to do the insect one?
The insect one. No, I'm definitely not going to.
You're not going to do a centipede, human centipede
3. No, that was a joke.
That's the worst thing you've ever sent me.
Well, it's one of the worst things out there. It's
that
just
is in existence. That is awful. Is that a real movie?
It looks like it. It looks like it. I mean, the thing I will say that I think is clever about those, at least I haven't seen the second film, and I won't see the third film. I saw the first film, and it does churn one's stomach quite a bit.
Why did you see the first film? Did you lose a bet?
It's one of those curiosities. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to see this now.
No, there are curiosities that don't need to be satisfied.
Well, that one did for me. Sadly, that says a lot, I suppose. But the second one, I love that they at least didn't just put it back into the same world. They put it into a world where a crazy man was such a fan of the film that he decided to actually recreate it with 12 people. I think that was very clever to actually change worlds. So it's no longer in the movie world, but it's in the real world. But now this third one, I can't really, and I don't know why I'm talking about this trailer now, but the third one, it looks like it's a blend of the first one, like the world of the first one, the world of the second one. It looks very meta. And so, I like at least that they're playing around with that, but I still have no intentions of watching it. But it's not my trailer. Let me get away from this topic.
Oh, my goodness, please.
My trailer is, it's I don't know if it's that much better. It certainly is a gruesome little horror film that's coming out called Clown. And for all of those people who have nightmares about clowns, this is probably one to avoid. The conceit, I think, it is kind of clever. This father is trying to appease his son for his birthday party. The clown that they hire doesn't show up. And so his dad's digging in the basement and finds this old clown suit. And so he puts it on. And, it is great, a great clown for the birthday party. But the clown suit won't come off. And it turns out that it's the skin of a demon that would kill children. And so his wife, helps him like peel the clown nose off of his nose. And so he's got this bloody red nose. And it looks kind of terrible. But the fact that I think so many people have such a fear of clowns, I think it really kind of surprised me when I saw the trailer that this hadn't been tapped into more often or quicker. I mean, Stephen King did a great job in it, and I guess there's Killer Clowns from Outer Space and things like that. But this is like a genuine, just another take on like a horror clown, and the world needs more of that because it's tapping into a fear that I think a lot of people have. Clowns are just down and out creepy things.
What are you doing down there, Daddy?
Come downstairs. I want to see my number one birthday boy.
Don't go up there.
Yeah, no, it looks horrible, and I feel like I'm a worse man for having let you make me see it. Even this trailer, when he has his wife pull off his clown nose with pliers, and it pulls off part of his nose in the trailer. I cursed you out loud. I cursed your name. I cursed you by name. I did that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I won't be seeing this movie. I'm really look forward to you not telling me about your experience seeing this movie. It looks like I'm not in the target segment for that audience, not in the demo.
It looks like a really bad horror movie, and probably one that I will inevitably watch.
Oh, I know you'll watch it. I know you will.
Oh, yes.
That's so good.
And I love that Eli Roth is actually, he has I don't know if it's a cameo or a bit part or what, but he's in it as Frowny the Clown.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he didn't direct it. This is directed by John Watts. I'm unfamiliar with John Watts, but he's done a few little projects like Cop Car and Our RoboCop remake.
Is that like the Community's RoboCop remake? Is that kind of, hey, look what we did?
Yeah, I just don't know. It's a little animated feature thing. I don't know. I don't really quite know what it is, but looks like an interesting director who has done. I mean, he's tapped into like The Onion. He's worked on the Onion TV show and a bunch of shorts and other TV projects and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of this one. Is it going to be scary and funny or just scary? I don't know, but.
Okay.
Clown. I don't have any release dates either. The trailer's out. It's kind of looks like it's getting a slow release date in different parts of the world, and so who knows? It may be straight to video at some point, but
jeez,
that's it.
All right. My trailer is not about clowns. There isn't a single clown in my trailer.
Or centipedes.
All right. So my trailer, Andy, it picks up in my long-running series of Ethan Hawke trailers. This guy and his movies, all of a sudden. This time he is Tom Egan, fighter pilot turned drone pilot, facing down his demons as he kills and kills and kills from afar, afar, afar. A story, actually, it absolutely fascinates me, and has since I saw Unmanned, America's Drone Wars from Robert Greenwald. These guys, this job, the pressures, I just cannot fathom how they're able to do this job and integrate into the world around them. So I get excited about anything that helps me sort of explore this a bit more. I'm just fascinated. It is a role in the world that I don't understand, and I find myself really compelled to try to understand it. So the big question for me is, can writer-director Andrew Niccol deliver something that deals with the complexities inherent in this story in a way that actually does justice to it? And I am I don't know, is dubious the word?
Eyes on the objective. Engage at your discretion.
Roger that. Target lasered. 3, 2, 1, right.
Good kill.
The cast: January Jones, Zoe Kravitz, Ethan Hawke, Jake Abel, Bruce Greenwood. It's got a solid cast. I mean, there are people that I like. I have professed my like for them in the past. Andrew Niccol is, known for some of my go-to films. I really enjoyed Gattaca. I obviously loved The Truman Show. Lord of War was great. In Time, I think we both had some problems with it, but it was a clever concept. The Host, that was the one I was trying to remember with the Thing. Stephen Smart, I think, came up with that. We were talking about this a couple weeks ago, that it made it look just like Insurgent and all the other ones that are just like it.
Oh, it was the Twilight lady's other book. Right.
Stephanie Meyer, right. And and so Andrew Niccol was behind that, too. And, boy, I didn't see that coming. So, anyhow, I'm kind of mixed, because then we got The Terminal and Simone.
Hey, don't knock The Terminal.
You like The Terminal a lot?
I do like The Terminal.
I honestly, I don't think I've seen it.
You're just knocking anyway.
No. I haven't. I don't think I haven't seen it. No, I can tell you, I haven't seen it, and I haven't just heard a lot of. Oh, that was one of Spielberg's best. But then Tom Hanks was in it, so I know I'm speaking to the wrong company.
You are. It is good.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It really is.
It's a good one. All right. Well, so but I think I'm more on the side of Andrew Niccol than his foes, than his enemies.
Well, I think his strengths, his strong films, Gattaca, Lord of War, In Time had some stuff going for it, but those films, I think, stand, as far as what he's directed, stand far over any falls that he's had or any small stumbles. And so, I mean, I think when he's good, I think he's really, really good. I think this has the potential to be really good. I mean, it looks like a really interesting film, and you're right. What is up with Ethan Hawke right now? He is in flipping everything. I mean, looking at his slate, he's got 6 films slated for 2015. He did 5 in 2014. He did 4 in 2013. I mean, this is like the busiest period of his life. He just is not settling down.
It really is, and I like it. I mean, everything that I have seen of him in this sort of renewed Ethan Hawke has been great. I have really enjoyed, and so although I have not seen Cymbeline, which is now not called Cymbeline.
It keeps changing titles. It was Cymbeline, and then it was
now
called...
Now is it Cymbeline again?
I heard that it's Cymbeline again.
It's back. Yeah, that's how it's listed anyway. And then, so I haven't seen that one, obviously, but Predestination, God, was great. Boyhood, obviously. It's just, he's in a string of films I'm really looking forward to. So we'll see. It hits May 15th. It's been around for a little bit. I think it's floating around. I can't find it on any of the digital service, but it's been around festivals since 2014. So you may have seen it, but it hits a wide release May 15th.
Nice.
Yeah. That's it. Andy?
Yes?
You ought to kill me for what I did a moment ago.
There's time.
And then I saw her, coming out of the sun. And I knew why Whit didn't care about that 40 grand.
My name is Jeff Markham, and I haven't talked to anybody who hasn't tried to sell me something for 10 days.
I'd like to build a house right there, marry you, live in it, and never go anywhere else.
She ran out on me.
With $40,000.
I hate surprises myself. You want to just shut the door and forget it?
No, come on in. I like surprises.
Your picture don't do you justice, baby.
Why don't you break his head, Jeff?
Cute.
One chance in a million. One chance in a million was all that chump ever had in his life, and he made it good.
I couldn't help it, Jeff. They made me sign it. I swear I couldn't help it. They said they'd find the body and tell the police I killed him.
That evens us. Now fold your hands or I'll fold them for you.
You talk big, mister.
Out of the Past, Danny 1947 film noir, rightfully called Build My Gallows High, as it was released in the United Kingdom, based on the book by Daniel Mainwaring, who also adapted his own book to the screenplay under the pseudonym Jeffrey Holmes. Mm-hmm. And it stars the fantastic trio, Robert Mitchum, Jane Greer, and Kirk Douglas. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to just say this. I'm going to say it out loud, and I just want you to react. This is the fourth of our series of films noir. All right?
Yes.
Double Indemnity, Detour, Scarlet Street, Out of the Past. For me,
Right.
Out of the Past is hands down the best of the series so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't... Nothing? That's not it? Where does it rate for you? Like, you don't agree?
I do love this film. I would so far I would probably rank this second, I think.
Behind Scarlet Street?
Behind Double Indemnity.
It was going to be my second choice.
And then and then Scarlet Street. But see, those three are all like way up in like my favorite noir films, like all three of them. And Detour, I mean, I really, we talked about, I enjoy Detour quite a bit, even though it is a very problematic film. But yeah, I think this is a brilliant representation of film noir. It's got this kind of this just brilliant look. It's got wonderful smoking. Roger Ebert has just a wonderful comment about the smoking in this film. It's got an incredible femme fatale. It's got a rather convoluted plot, I think, but it makes for a really fun story about a guy who falls for a femme fatale and just kind of goes down this dark road and leads to ruin.
It is. She is loco.
And what I like about... Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm trying to compare her a little bit to, to Scarlet Street, right? Who was also not,
To Kitty?
Yeah, not all there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But, I find my experience with Jane Greer is so much more... I feel like I'm involved in the love affair with her, right? She is so alluring that I can't, watching Scarlet Street, I get into this, or even Detour, who's just, she's off her rocker. What's her name?
She's just nasty. Yeah.
She's just nasty all over the place. And that's what, obviously that's what these films are known for. But I find that this is the first one where I really believed that I could have been snookered by her. I could have fallen in love with her because she is just so alluring and just quintessentially, stereotypically, psychologically attractive. And her voice is just, man.
Well, and is that because this one is the only one so far that actually gives us a sense of kind of a love story happening? Because this does kind of, as he's a detective and he's trying to track down this woman for Kirk Douglas's character who had shot him and stole $40,000 from him. He tracks her down in Acapulco and immediately falls for her. And we see it feels rather lengthy, kind of a love montage, kind of a series of scenes of them falling in love and falling for each other and deciding they're going to go on the run together and all that. And it's actually the only film where it actually gives you a sense of these two characters really falling in love.
I totally agree. And I don't think it ends there. I think that's one of the things that the film gives us is a much more sort of fleshed out experience with the characters. I think it is you get much more of a sense of the complexity of their relationships. And I think it starts with them. But I don't think it ends there. I mean, I think the relationships with Kirk Douglas, even as sort of weirdly flighty as he plays his role, is, I feel like we get an experience of their history together, and I really like that. I feel like this is the noir that we have that has the most meat on its bones. It has the most for me to sort of enjoy and let kind of wash over me.
Well, it certainly has the most fleshed out and well-developed characters, I would say. I think I would say that about the four films that we've talked about. We have characters who really don't feel very one-dimensional, which I really like, that they actually feel fleshed out. Like Kathy, Jane Greer's character, she is, we fall in love with her, but then there's this kind of this dark side that pops up because we don't fully know if she really stole this $40,000. She said she didn't, and all this, and then she and Jeff fall for each other. But then when Jeff's former partner Fisher confronts them, she's like, what's she say? Like, bash him in the head, Jeff, or something. It's like all of a sudden she turns, seems like, well, that doesn't seem in character. Like, she's got a dark side. But then when she's talking about Kirk Douglas's character, Whit, you get this sense that there's some abuse there. Like, maybe she ran away because he abuses her. And so maybe she was kind of right in shooting him out of self-defense or something. And they play that not just with her, but with Whit. There's a sense of a little more depth to his character. When we meet, was it Nita? Later we meet Nita, and there's a sense with her also that there's something darker about the reason that she's doing stuff. Like, there's something having to do with this this accountant that she's working for, and he is not necessarily the nicest guy. And I like that they really play with all the characters. Even Joe, the I don't know what you'd call him, but kind of the henchman, Whit's henchman. Right. When he kills the accountant later on, he has a reaction that just seems really surprising for somebody who's a henchman. It's like he felt really bad about it almost. Kind of it kind of shocked him the way that the death happened, and it was a really interesting change that they did with all the characters. I really love how they developed the script in this.
I do too. And did you mention Anne?
I didn't mention Anne yet.
This is another one. Anne Miller, played by Virginia Houston. This is she sort of is the catalyst for the flashback. Much of this film is a flashback, and as many noir films tend to be, this is. She's the new girlfriend, and she's with, she is with Jeff, and opens with Jeff, and they're professing their love for one another, and you get a sense that he's really, he works in this garage, and this is his life now, and he's invested in this life, and then out of the, this mysterious henchman comes out of the past and shakes up his worldview, and he has to come clean to Anne, and she pops in and out of the film, and I never once lose sight of the complexity that exists in, Mitchum's and Jeff Bailey's relationship between these two women. It's a difficult thing, which is fleshed out really, really well throughout the course of the film. I love it.
Yeah, and I love the way that the boy, the deaf mute boy, has that. Kind of tells her that Jeff was essentially going to meet Kathy at the end to kind of free Anne.
Yeah,
it was a nice little way to kind of just play that and kind of let her break free from. I mean, really, she was kind of had that same connection to Jeff that Jeff ended up having to Kathy.
So you are not as excited about this film as I was. What is it about the film that doesn't stack up for you?
No. I don't think that's a fair assessment. It's not that I'm not excited about this film. It's just that I happen to be a little more excited about the other two films, I think. I think for me, the thing with this film is the plot itself gets so convoluted when you start getting involved with this, the accountant, and he's got this affidavit in a safe that Kathy signed saying that Jeff killed Fisher. It does feel like a very convoluted plot, and it's one of those films where you look at it, you step back and go, does the plot matter that much? Probably not. It's the journey that I take of watching Jeff's character as he goes back and forth with Kathy over the course of the film. That's really what's important in this film. The plot, not so much. But I think that because of that, I always find this one harder to remember. Like, I know I love this film, but every time I sit down and watch it, I'm like, gosh, what happens again? Because I don't remember. I know there's a guy who gets killed by a fishing hook. I love that bit.
Technically, he gets killed by the fall.
Yes, right. He gets dragged off the cliff by the fishing hook, but always one of my favorite deaths in cinema.
Which I love because, if you think about the sort of pound test fishing wire that the kid must be using to fish in this little stream,
right?
That actually would just pull a 180-pound man off a cliff.
Just in
what
case
is he
great
fishing
white
for? Anyhow, yes. Okay. So, and I guess I can agree with you on that point. And I think that it's sort of a C story, that we end up with with Whit being blackmailed by this attorney, and there's this tax thing, and he's got to get the papers back, and it becomes like another sort of mini caper.
Mm-hmm.
But that is what allows the rest of the caper to unfold. That's what allows the Kathy to sort of come out as the murderess of these three people, and so I think ultimately, I find that makes the story more rich. But I agree with you. I can see how that makes it slightly impenetrable, particularly if you've seen you've only if you haven't watched it much. If you don't have that much experience with film, I can see how that makes it more challenging.
Well, and it's just one of those films. You get to the end, and you go, okay, so did the accountant stuff matter that much to the story? Not really, because it all figures in. Obviously,
you're right. That's a good point.
But I just I really love the story, the overall story of Jeff and Kathy. I really enjoy that story. It's just the rest of it kind of bogs me down sometimes, but I still really love this film.
I mostly love seeing Robert Mitchum and Kirk Douglas on screen together, and they're just really fun to see. And I haven't seen The Way West in a long time, but that was another one where we get to see Mitchum and Douglas. And were there others?
I don't think so. I feel like that might have been it. I know that Mitchum. He was, before this, much more of a good guy sort of actor. He, in the story of G.I. Joe and films like that, he was kind of that hero. And it was really this film and after that it changed his persona, and he became much more of that laconic, lethargic, fatalistic, darker, brooding sort of character. And
isn't it a funny parallel between Robert Mitchum and Fred McMurray?
Yeah,
they were. It's a funny transition when you get these guys who were in that sort of good guy role and end up going noir for, to show their other side.
Yeah, Mitchum certainly stayed there. I don't know if McMurray.
No, he didn't really bounce out. He sort of bounced out.
Noir, son of Flubber.
All right, so it didn't stick. So to speak.
It's Flubber, of course it is.
Right? Am I right?
That's right. Right.
I interrupted you. Keep going.
Oh, but I was just saying, comparing with Kirk Douglas, who I think really from this film, this was only his second film. I mean, I think right away you can already get this real sense of that on-screen persona that he would end up carrying. And I think... Well, we're going to be talking about him next week also, but I think that Kirk Douglas ended up just kind of taking on a different kind of film largely, although he was never one who shied away from dark characters or weak characters. He was always one ready to jump in and try anything. So I love that about Kirk Douglas. And but yeah, I don't think that they... long answer, but I don't think that they ended up acting in anything else together. I could be wrong. If any of our listeners know for sure, they can let us know.
Yeah, I don't think so. But he was. It's funny to watch him this young because he seems like he has affectation in this film. Do you notice?
Huh.
Just the way he bites his lip. He there were some little. I don't know if it was a sign of just sort of not yet finding complete comfort on screen. He just looked a little bit more like Kirk Douglas than Whit compared to Mitchum as Jeff.
Yeah.
He just felt like a kid. And maybe it's because we're so, like, we know Kirk Douglas so well.
Right.
After such an incredible career. But even his films that came out in the 50s were, show a dramatic difference, in his acting ability. It was just such a strong character actor from this point forward. So
yeah, and he was only like 30, 31 when he made this film. So
yeah.
Jeez.
Okay, I sort of started by talking about Mitchum and Douglas together, but other thoughts on Mitchum's performance as Jeff alone? What do you think?
I think he's brilliant. He is a character who, I mean, he's an actor really who's born to be in noir. I think he latches on to the qualities of the character and really just taps into it. And I think it comes through in that kind of fatalistic sense that he carries with him. He works so well in this role, and I mean all the other noirs that he's been in. He really kind of just did a lot of them, and I think he did a great job in them.
I feel like my collection of Mitchum is sadly lacking, particularly when I look at Out of the Past in 1947 through Night of the Hunter in 1955.
Mm-hmm.
I really have not seen very many films in there, and there are a lot of them.
Yes,
in that range.
I've seen a lot of his noirs from the period. Crossfire, which came out the same year. I think was he in The Racket? I feel like he was in The Racket.
He was.
He did just so many of these great films. It's just so much fun to watch him. He really just carries that presence so well.
He really does, and I think this film does a great job showing off his ability to transform, to transition from the sort of dopey PI to the grim, to the sort of grim sucker in the middle of the caper. I just love watching him work
with the man in love in the middle. I mean, I think he plays that kind of love-stricken character really well, and I think that he and Jane Greer have a great presence together on screen, and they were in The Big Steal a few years later as well.
Jane Greer is really, really awesome.
She's just lovely.
She's really lovely.
She was with Howard Hughes for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, she was. I can't remember if they
was she on the Spruce Goose?
I don't think that she was around in the Spruce Goose years, but she was. I think that Howard Hughes actually is the reason that she started acting. He found her in a magazine and brought her to Hollywood basically to become an actress, and then she came out and married Rudy Valley. And then Howard Hughes, I don't know if he was her managing her or what, but he would like lend her over to studios like RKO and put her in a bunch of films there. Dick Tracy, Out of the Past, They Won't Believe Me, The Big Steal, and and then she, I think, just what was the other thing I was going to say about her? I can't remember now.
Palsy when she was 15.
Oh, did she?
And her face was partially paralyzed.
Oh, wow. I didn't.
She had partial paralysis of her face from palsy. The palsy left her face partially paralyzed. Paralyzed palsy face. Partial palsy, paralyzed partial palsy face.
Wow.
As I was saying, that this is one of the bits, right? That this is one of the little bits that she claims that it was through facial exercises to overcome the paralysis that she learned the efficacy of facial expression in conveying human emotion, courtesy IMDb.
I remember what I was going to say. She was really nervous about playing this role. She was fairly young. I think she was only 22 at the time. And she knew of the reputation of Mitchum. He had been, he was a heavy drinker. He was, as a teenager, he'd been in a chain gang and escaped. I mean, he's really kind of considered a bad boy. And so she was quite nervous about working with him. But she got to know him and found him to be just one of the most giving people, really a great actor to work with. He really worked well with his other actors. And outside of that, he was just incredibly friendly and very helpful. And so they became friends after this. And even appeared decades later in 1987 on Saturday Night Live together doing a spoof of this called Out of Gas.
Now, you have not seen Out of Gas, right?
I have not seen it, and I've looked online for it. I've seen some stills of it, and that's all that I've been able to find. But yeah, Robert Mitchum, I think his daughter made this short spoof of Out of the Past called Out of Gas with Robert Mitchum and Jane Greer, and also Mitchum's grandson, Bentley Mitchum. So I'd love to see it, but I can't find it. All the clips online have been taken down.
That's a shame. Sad shame.
It is. It really is.
It's interesting. Here's the quote about her quote. I'd always wanted to be an actress, and suddenly I knew that learning to control my facial muscles was one of the best assets I could have as a performer. Emotions often must be portrayed from an inner feeling, of course, but I had a double advantage because I was learning to direct my as-yet expressionless feelings, as well as gaining an ability to express emotion by a very conscious manipulation of my muscles, which makes her sound like a sociopath. Like,
aren't all actors a little bit?
Isn't that what you would hear from, Dexter?
Right. Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, all right. Anyway, her role in this film, I thought she was just fantastic. As I have said before, she is really, really transcended in this film as largely the evildoer.
Largely, yes. I think that it's just so well written, the femme fatale here, just the way that you never quite know that she's the femme fatale until he's completely wrapped up into her, and then it kind of unspools and you realize just how evil and manipulative it is, and she only gets like darker as the film progresses. It's a very great transformation of the femme fatale over the whole course of the film, rather than some of the other ones where Detour, she's just straight out bad the whole time. Scarlet Street, we pretty much know that Kitty is working against him the whole time, and likewise in Double Indemnity, we get this sense that, I mean, here's this woman and she's pretty and all that, but right from the start she wants to commit this crime with his help, and so this is, I think, the first transformative femme fatale that we really get a chance to watch of the films that we've talked about.
I absolutely agree, and I think they do. You're right. The way they let her unravel, it starts really early on. In the first act of the film, she's just sort of in and out, like she's kind of flitting in and out. There's a lot of flirtation. There's a lot of that sort of early romance and a lot of the sort of masks that people wear as they're learning about one another, and particularly in these noir films, those masks tend to be fairly strident. But then we get that first confrontation where she says, "Okay, I took the money, but I didn't shoot him." Right. And then you just know something's wrong. You just know something's wrong. And then we get the scene, as that scene continues, and Jeff is in a fight in the cabin, and the lighting is just unbelievable. And the lighting tells more of a story as these two guys box the heck out of each other. The shadows that come from this, incredibly bright fireplace, frankly, but cast on the wall fighting while she is standing there looking, sadistic, like she's really enjoying watching them just beat each other to pieces, is that big transformation for me. All of the elements come into place: the scene, the light, the subtlety of the look of joy on her face watching what these guys are doing to one another, that she has brought them to this place. I found spectacular.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's done very smartly, and she's written well, she's performed well. I think Jacques Tourneur directs her well. Nicholas Mazurka shoots it well. Everything comes together to just create this perfect representation of her as the femme fatale.
There's a lot of commentary, speaking of lighting, and I don't want to derail too much too soon, but speaking of lighting, there's a lot of conversation about this film being even sort of the pinnacle of noir lighting. Can you talk about that?
The shadows in this are just brilliant. I mean, Jacques Tourneur in some of his other films like Cat People really, I think, had an opportunity to play with more of that, and from that, and working with Nicholas Mazurka, really was able to just do some great, not overly expressionistic lighting. I mean, certainly Musaraka learned a lot from German expressionism, and you can get a sense of that here. But it's just, this is really shadowy. I mean, there's some parts where the characters aren't lit, they're just backlit, and so you've got silhouettes, or you've got incredible shadows, like the scene you were just talking about, where you've got kind of the shadows of them fighting on the wall as she's kind of looking on with that kind of sadistic smile on her face almost. And he also wasn't afraid to kind of move the camera through the shadows. And there's some great shots that I found fairly surprising. I mean, jumping back to Jack Cardiff and other cinematographers we've talked about back in the period, there's a fantastic shot that Musaraka got when it's right after Jeff goes into the club and up to the manager's office, knocks him out, and takes the accounting folder out of the safe, walks out the hallway and down the stairs, and the camera follows him down the hallway, and then the camera actually descends the stairs with him. An incredibly smooth shot, and I don't know if they had it on a dolly or a crane arm, like a boom arm that then dropped down as it followed him, but the way that it moved and felt alive within these shadows, I think really lends to this just this feeling, this vibrancy of this dance really between the dark and the light.
Well, see, I knew I just throw the question out. You'd start talking smart. I had not made the connection about that particular sequence, but you're right. I've got it playing right now, and that is really beautiful.
It's an incredible shot that knocked me off my feet as I was watching. I'm like, this was 1947. How did he pull that shot out of thin air?
Right. The size of the crane.
Yeah.
To manipulate that equipment. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great shot. I mean, it's black and white. It wasn't the big, 3-strip Technicolor or anything. So it's a smaller camera, but still, just kind of coordinating the movement within that. I'd love to have seen how they actually put that together back then.
Right. It's not an iPhone on a Steadicam.
Exactly.
All right. So we have talked a bit about Daniel Mainwaring as Jeffrey Holmes. Mm-hmm. Have you dabbled in the book at all?
In the book, I have not. I'm curious to read this book. I think this was the last book that Daniel Mainwaring wrote, and then he transitioned into becoming a screenwriter after this. And I've heard back and forth as to whether he was actually a screenwriter who was blacklisted or not. I've heard it both ways, that he was blacklisted, and that I heard that he was there was a film that he wasn't credited for, but it had nothing to do with any political reasons. So I'm not quite sure, but it did sound like he did end up having some problems with his career for a time. I just don't know why. But he also wrote the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, one of my favorite sci-fis. So,
yeah, I was going to say, what else did he do that you really love? And Invasion of the Body Snatchers obviously is high on that list. 1956 screenplay.
And The Big Steal, which the other noir that I mentioned earlier with Mitchum and Greer, which is a great little a noir film to watch. But I don't know if I've seen a whole lot else that he's actually been behind. But
what about, did you see Babyface Nelson?
I didn't.
That was Mickey Rooney.
Oh, interesting.
Right, as George Babyface Nelson, 1957.
Yeah, I can
noir.
see that. Yeah, I can see that working.
Interesting. Yeah, I have not seen enough, clearly.
Yeah, I'm curious to see more of his stuff. But I mean, the ones that I've seen, I've enjoyed all of them.
Wild Wild West. He wrote one episode. 1967.
And Mannix.
Who will dig the graves? Where do you stand briefly on Against All Odds, the 1984 remake with Jeff Bridges and Rachel Ward?
I don't know if I think that much of it, but I do love the fact that the filmmakers who put that together cared enough about the original that they actually brought Jane Greer in to play Rachel Ward's mother, and they had Paul Valentine, who played Stefano. he was in Against All Odds as well.
This one comes from Taylor Hackford, director, who did he did a couple of things that I think I liked, right? Devil's Advocate, Proof of Life, Ray.
He's an up and down sort of filmmaker.
Yeah, he is.
I like some of his stuff, and some of it I don't like, but yeah.
Parker. Do you like Parker?
Parker. I don't know Parker.
Jason Statham, Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. Anyhow, I have zero memory of Against All Odds. Like, really, no idea.
Other than the song.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it last time I watched Out of the Past, which is probably within the last 5 years, maybe 5 years ago, I'd say. I actually then rented Against All Odds to watch it because that was, I think, the first time that I put two and two together and realized it was a remake. And so I watched it, and I wasn't overly impressed. I could see kind of the familiarities between the two plots. I certainly prefer Out of the Past between the two. I don't think Against All Odds really struck me as anything, painful or anything like that. But, it's just, it's one of those films that you watch and like, okay.
It was, I may have seen it during my Alex Karras series. It was just after I'd finished watching every episode of Webster that I needed to see what a cast, dude. Against All Odds. This is so funny because all these guys, Saul Rubinek, Swoozie Kurtz, Richard Widmark, like what a strange collection of people. I was in the trio with Rachel Ward, Jeff Bridges, and James Woods.
Right.
But these, the bench strength cast is hysterical.
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, this was a point in Richard Widmark's career where he was kind of popping up in a lot of stuff that I wouldn't, I feel bad, but that, he was in, what was that really cheesy, like he was in National Lampoon's Movie Madness. He was in The Swarm. The Swarm, I think, is the thing that I always think of toward the end of his career. But man, I love Widmark.
Well, yeah.
But,
all right.
Yep.
Let's see. I totally derailed us by talking about that. Where do we go from here?
I found it very interesting, and I wanted to just kind of run this by you. I thought it was very interesting on the part of the filmmakers to also cast Rhonda Fleming to play Nita. She was kind of the secretary working for this accountant who was helping Jeff as they set up this whole extra other part of the story. And it was very interesting that they chose to make Nita look so much like Kathy, to the point where there's a scene when Jeff comes into a bedroom and we see the woman come in on the phone to call and to have the person at the desk of the apartment complex go check and see if the accountant is there, hoping that the guy will stumble across the dead body. And of course, Jeff had moved it. And I was convinced that I was looking at Rhonda Fleming and her character Nita until he comes out and starts talking, and I was like, oh wait, that's Kathy. And I read that the filmmaker actually intentionally had them look similar to kind of create some confusion between the two characters. I thought that was really interesting, and it was an interesting choice to deliberately cause that confusion. And I just wanted to get your take on that.
Well, what's the payoff for that confusion? I mean, did you find it was...
No, that's what I'm not quite sure what the payoff is. It's like, is there a payoff to make them have some similarity other than it's like kind of a Vertigo, kind of a everywhere he goes, he sees another version of Kathy sort of thing? I wasn't quite sure.
Well, I think that you weren't quite sure. I thought there was a similarity, but you know me, I get confused with like faces in black and white movies all the time. And so that's par for the course for me. But I think I did not see the payoff, and maybe it's because I tend to get naturally confused in these situations. I did not see the payoff in having that confusion. In fact, I personally was not all that confused because the voices are different, and so as soon as she opens her mouth, I could tell who she was, or I could tell that she was not Kathy.
Yeah.
But I don't see any of the sort of dramatic payoff or the sort of payoff in intrigue that we are supposed to, have missed a mark by not knowing that it was her, that we would suddenly get it on the second viewing. It would all make sense, I don't see it. I don't see that.
There's nothing like that. There's nothing that makes it click. And it's very interesting that they opted to go that route. And I think it just furthers that confusion of this whole sequence in the story, where it's like, okay, so we're getting really convoluted here with this accountant and all this, and then the two women look alike, and it made for kind of a strange little story, I thought.
Right. No, I see that. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I didn't get all that confused. I am confused now knowing that they actually intended it. That doesn't make any sense to me, and it actually makes the sequence less strong.
Yeah.
Just knowing that.
Yeah. Rhonda Fleming was nicknamed the Queen of Technicolor, and because she had such fair complexion and flaming red hair that I guess looked really great in Technicolor. So it's a shame that we didn't get to catch a glimpse of that. I'll have to go check out one of her other films. I guess she married at one point in her life, I think it was her fifth husband, was Ted Mann, who she married, who is the head of the Mann Theater chain. And so she... I think she was able to kind of retire and enjoy just basking in the money coming in from the movie theater chain.
No
and
kidding.
she's still alive and kicking out there.
She was you want to see her looking in her red-haired best. Check out 1957's Gunfight at the OK Corral from director John Sturgis with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas. Because you talk about flaming red hair, you'll see it.
Yeah.
Hair on fire.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, that was I really, I mean, when all the Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday films came out, this was the one I would go back to. This is the one to see. So,
very
worth
nice.
Worth it. Rhonda Fleming, fantastic. Short, not a big role in this film.
No, it wasn't. But it was an interesting role.
Who else?
I also liked Dickie Moore popping up in this. He's an interesting actor who's still alive, and I guess he is one of the last surviving actors to have appeared in the silent film era.
Wow.
Yeah, he was an actor starting in the 20s as a kid. He was born in 25, and he started, I think, acting in 1926 as a young infant.
Wow.
And he acted into the 50s, I think, and then he kind of retired from acting, and I think he became was it an agent or a publicist, something like that. But he was one of the Our Gang. He was one of the members of Our Gang. Yeah, little Dickie Moore.
That's why the name sounded so familiar. That's too funny.
Yeah,
Well, you can
PR.
see it. You look at his page, you can really see it.
Exactly. But he went into PR and he married Jane Powell, and he's been married to her since '88.
And still kicking around.
Yep, still kicking.
Oh, Dickie Moore.
Pretty
That's
cool.
Great. That kind of wraps up the cast, right? I mean,
yeah, I think for the most part. I mean, for the key ones.
Yeah. And we have talked about the good Daniel Mainwaring. We've talked about Jacques Tourneur. Have we talked about Jacques Tourneur?
We haven't really talked about
We
Jacques
should
Tourneur.
talk about Jacques Tourneur. Jacques Tourneur, born in 1904, French director in Paris.
Mm-hmm. Son of another film director, Maurice.
Maurice, yeah.
Who also was a very, very busy filmmaker who I think made something like 90 films or something crazy like that, half of which were done in the in Hollywood between 1914 and 1926. So his dad cranked films out, and so Jacques kind of grew up in the world of film.
And what should we take away from Jacques' catalog?
He's a filmmaker who certainly was within the system. He worked at MGM for a while before he jumped over to RKO and started working with Val Lewton, and I think that's where he really found his stride making Cat People, making I Walked with a Zombie. You could even put the Leopard Man in that group, and then he jumped around a little bit, did some other films that I think some people thought were okay. I think Out of the Past was the next big one for him, and then he freelanced for a while, and I think he hit a stretch where he wasn't doing anything very good until he made in the 50s Nightfall and Curse of the Demon. And it was probably less than 10 years after that when he made some tongue-in-cheek horror movies and kind of retired after that. So, he had his ups and downs, and I think that it seems like if he really stuck with some of the darker films or some of the horror films and just kind of stayed in that world, that he might have had a stronger film oeuvre. But, the ones that he did really well, I think, from what I hear, they really stand out.
Have you seen all of the key films?
No,
Curse of
I
the
feel
Demon, Cat People?
I feel like I need to go back and watch all of those now, like all the ones that I was just mentioning. Yeah. It's like, I think, looking through his library, I think Out of the Past is the only film of his I've seen.
Yeah, mine too. But yeah. Cat People looks... I think, wasn't Cat People remade?
It was.
That's the one. I see. This isn't this. I love the poster for Cat People, the 1942 version. It looks like a Toulouse-Lautrec painting. It's just really awful and great. But it was remade. That's the one that with Natasha Kinski, I think, is that, and Malcolm McDowell.
I believe you're right.
And it was a very different film.
Yeah, I don't know enough of the remake because I haven't seen that one either. But yeah, it was the Paul Schrader one from 1982. So,
right. A young woman's sexual awakening brings horror when she discovers her urges transform her into a monstrous black leopard.
Right. It sounds so silly, but I think that Tourneur gets so much credit for his film from 1942 because of how it was put together and the construction of it, which was really creative, and it really emphasized more of what you don't see. And that was, I think, something that really made it stand out, and that's why people still remember Cat People, his version, as a classic.
Yeah, but that version didn't have Ed Begley Jr. in it.
Again, why it's called a classic.
Good stuff.
All right. Begley Jr., star of Transylvania 65000.
65000. Oh, I used to have the song. I could just pull the song out. Transylvania 65000. I can't remember that too. Okay. Anybody else you want to talk about on this one as we get close to the...
I do like the music by Roy Webb. I thought that it had a great tone to it and a great theme, and he plays with it nicely. It goes from so idyllic. The opening of the film is all over these beautiful nature shots, and there's several sequences that take place out in nature in the film, and then it drops into the minor key when you first see Joe driving in through these nature shots of nature as he's driving into the city to find Jeff. And this character coming from out of the past. And you've got that music. It goes so wonderfully from the sweeping romantic feel as they're falling in love to kind of the darker turn as it goes back to the reality of what's really happening. I think that Roy Webb really captured that and did a great job with the music in this one.
You know, as long as you're talking about music, we got to talk about sound. And I want to go back to the scene in the cabin because this is... I made a note. I said out loud, these are the best fist-on-face sounds that I can remember hearing. The sound effects of these guys punching each other sounded like people really punching each other, and I thought it was just great. We went through such a dark period of terrible fist-fighting sounds, and these guys, sound department, Clem Portman and Francis Sarver, it was just great sound all the way through. The Foley sounds were just terrific.
Yeah, I'd agree on that.
Yeah.
Good call.
All right. Is it time?
I just a quick note. I tried finding money figures on this thing. Couldn't find anything. The only thing that I found was a line that just talked about how the RKO studio would make a lot of these B films, and the way they made money is because they had very low budgets, and then they would do well enough at the box office to make a lot of money back. This film, though, was given an A-level budget. So that's all I found about the numbers on this one. So it's a shame. Can't get any more information on that one.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how that holds up.
Yep.
In spite of that, I think it's time for us to rank it.
Let's do it.
Head over to flickchart.com/thenextreel, and you can see our stack rankings of our favorite films. Cruising up on 200 of the Next Reel rankings here. Very excited to hit that number because there will be some sort of a party.
Oh, yes.
There may be balloon.
Balloon.
I don't know how this one's gonna stack up, but I know if we rank him against another noir, we're gonna have words.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, Out of the Past or Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I'm gonna say Out of the Past.
I was gonna say if you're wanting to start strong.
Yeah.
All right, Out of the Past wins that one. Out of the Past or Ronin?
Out of the Past.
Yeah, I do Out of the Past still. The greatest smoking movie ever, as I think Ebert called it, which I think holds true. Out of the Past, here you go, Pete, just for you, or Double Indemnity.
Out of the Past.
And here I do Double Indemnity.
All right, let's do it.
Gonna have to rock, paper, scissors this one.
Okay, ready?
All right. Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Rock.
All
right. 1, 2, 3.
Rock.
Paper.
Ah. All
Sorry,
right.
man.
All right.
Sorry, man. Out of the Past or The Thing?
I wager you're going to go with The Thing.
I'm going to go with The Thing on this one.
I'll give you The Thing. Even though you should give it to me. I'm going to give it to you because I'm a big man.
In honor of Richard Dysart.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. There you go. Out of the Past or Fargo?
Fargo,
yeah. Out of the Past or The Curious Case of Benjamin Button? We'll do Out of the Past on this one.
Yes.
Out of the Past or The Hurt Locker? I would do The Hurt Locker.
And you would do that on a basis of?
I'm at about a 7. If you're stronger, I'll go with Out of the Past.
No, I'll give it to you.
Okay. All right, there you go. 42 out of 179.
Kind of wanted it to be 47. But you never know. It'll be there one day.
That's right.
All right, so that was number 4 on our series. Where do we go from here?
Well, we spent a little time dabbling with Kirk Douglas in this one, and we're going to spend a lot more time next week talking about Kirk Douglas in the fantastic Billy Wilder Media Frenzy Ace in the Hole, a.k.a. The Big Carnival.
Oh, awesome.
I love this one.
Excellent. Well, I think this was a good way to close out. This so far has been my favorite. We'll see if old Douglas can pull it out next week, but this is going to be a tough one to beat. I really, really enjoyed watching this film.
Absolutely. Well, good.
All right. I got to go to bed.
Baby, I don't care.
All right, so do you want to go up from the bottom or down from the top?
Oh, I think we should. We'll go down. I'll start.
Okay, you start.
By 2-star.
Right at the top with a 2-star.
That's right. By R. Mirich, who says, "Out of the Past should stay in the past." That's really the best
That's
part of
it?
it.
That's the whole thing?
No, it keeps going. Of the thousands of film noir movies available, this is one of my least favorite. Sure, Jane Greer is surprisingly attractive, and Mitchum is still developing his film persona, but all in all, even by this early date, the film is trite. Keep looking for a better use of your film noir bucks.
Now, Andy, I've never counted, but how many film noir films are there?
There's a lot. There's quite a library of film noir. If you pull out the encyclopedic reference to the American style of noir by Elaine Silver, who is considered kind of the guy.
Yeah,
it is a very thick book that covers I don't know how many films. I don't even know if it mentions how many films.
Is it in the thousands? Like how many thousands are we talking about?
I don't know if it's in the thousands. It certainly is.
I hear you. You're like literally flipping through pages right now. This is like you're really counting film noir films.
This is quite a tome. I mean, this book is what in the 400 pages.
All right, so we're going to clearly need to do another special episode where Andy counts film noir films.
That's right.
We're going to do it live.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. Well, I was hoping to catch a little bit of inappropriate use of hyperbole, but I may be wrong. So we'll have to get back to that. My rating, my review, comes from Judith Perry Oreo Lover, who is a 1-star review, sadly. And she writes, "Will be a gift." Now, that's not that great, but what's better are the follow-up comments to her to her comments, the people who read her review and decided to comment on her review. This woman has the exact same 1-star rating and gift comment on another film review, Ace in the Hole. Best to ignore her. And looks like her gifts really don't come from the heart. They're all 1-star gifts.
That's the best.
That's so sad. Her friends hate her. That's a sad problem. She never even gets Oreos anymore. Amazon. Andy, it is hard to believe that we have been having in-depth weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
You are telling me. Producing this show week after week requires a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our Originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Just visit thenextreel.com/originals. Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
I love The Next Reel Season 4. Do you know why?
I don't. Why?
Because we got to talk about my favorite movie, Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
That's not even an adaptation.
No, but it was such a great part of our great Terry Gilliam series, and a few others in that series were adaptations, like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, adapted from Raspi's stories, and La Jetée, which inspired 12 Monkeys.
Oh, right. And for our Man with No Name trilogy, we saw how Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars was basically stolen from Kurosawa's Yojimbo.
We added Labor Day to our Jason Reitman series, adapted from Joyce Maynard's novel.
Oof, there's one we'll always regret.
Our big Stephen King series covered adaptations like The Shining, Cujo, Christine, and Stand By Me, great horror and coming-of-age tales.
Another Coen Brothers adaptation, too. We got to talk about how they turned Homer's The Odyssey into Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
For our holiday series, we did The Bishop's Wife and The Poseidon Adventure.
And who could forget seeing Alec Guinness in the adaptation of Kind Hearts and Coronets during our series dedicated to him.
We really need to do more of his films.
Truly.
We had our first film noir series with classics like Double Indemnity, Detour, and Out of the Past.
And our black and white cinematography of James Wong Howe's series with The Thin Man, Sweet Smell of Success, Seconds, and King's Row. So many adaptations.
Oh, you're not kidding. Dive deeper into these originals and more at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book you buy helps support our show.
Get the full list at thenextreel.com/originals and start reading today.